And greetings, everyone, and welcome to Buzz for Good, where we talk all things nonprofits, the people they serve, and the good they do. And on today's show, we are talking about bread, specifically the nonprofit House of Bread, based here in Roanoke, Virginia, that helps women who are struggling overcome a past of addiction, abuse, incarceration, and other challenges, by teaching them how to bake bread alongside a caring community of volunteers. House of Bread is holding its first annual Bake Off fundraiser on September the 19th at Green Memorial United Methodist Church in downtown Roanoke, and I'm going to talk about that and House of Bread's inspiring mission with program coordinator Lisa Goad. I'm also going to share some of our newest Buzz TV show that stars the Calfee Training School, an historic African-American institution in Pulaski, Virginia. That episode airs Wednesday, August the 26th at 7 p.m. on Blue Ridge PBS, and then will be available afterwards on our YouTube channel at Buzz for Good, BUZZ 4 Good. My name is Michael Hemphill. I'm the creator and host of the TV show Buzz, as well as this radio show podcast, Buzz for Good, where we feature the great work of nonprofit organizations and the marketing professionals affiliated with the American Advertising Federation of Roanoke who donate their time and talent, helping these life-giving organizations achieve more buzz. And you can find out more through my website, buzzforgood.com, BUZZ 4 good.com, as well as social media channels, the aforementioned YouTube, along with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, all at Buzz for Good. And now, here is my conversation with Lisa Goad, Program Coordinator of House of Bread. And it is my pleasure to welcome here to Buzz for Good, Lisa Goad, who is the program coordinator of House of Bread. Welcome.
Thanks, Michael. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you. So I want to start off by just kind of reading the mission statement of House of Bread and to kind of cue up my first question. So for those who have not heard of House of Bread, which I had not until y'all reached out, House of Bread is a unique program helping under-resourced women make a fresh start. In an atmosphere of friendship, participants and mentors build relationships while sharing tools for restoring confidence, dignity, and hope through a 6-week session. Participants learn job and personal skills through hands-on training, coupled with emotional and spiritual support, while baking and selling bread alongside volunteer mentors from the Roanoke community. It's awesome work. But my question, I guess, to kick things off is, why bread?
Yeah, that's a great first question. We originally got our start, we picked kitchen and baking because that's an easy entry point for people with a complicated past who are looking to get into the workforce. There's a lot of industries that won't hire someone who has any kind of complicated background, but the restaurant industry is generally kind of forgiving. So we knew we wanted to be restaurant industry focused. And we picked bread partly just because it's very tactile. If you are kneading and shaping bread, it's there's a little bit of a, I don't know, healing isn't maybe the right word, but it's sort of therapeutic to just kind of do a repetitive motion. It's something that it's very simple. It often has few ingredients, and it's something that a group of people can do shoulder to shoulder in a kitchen.
And that part is important to the mission of the House of Bread, the shoulder to shoulder working closely together.
Yes, we're very relationship based. So it is our goal to build bridges so that our students come in and they meet volunteers who are coming from different communities, and we find things we have in common and shared experiences.
How did you get into the bread business?
Well, I got in accidentally.
Okay.
2 other women were working on developing this project about 10 years ago. And they pulled me in because I, at the time, was a stay-at-home mom, and I had just found passion in baking bread. So I was pulled in to develop the recipes and teach the baking. I did not know it was going to become a career, but here we are.
Well, let's rewind a little further then. I mean, why did you get into bread to begin with? What was it?
Um,
What was it about it that, kind of spoke to you that where you're now it's your career?
Right. I got into it sort of as something practical that I could do at home for my family, bake something that we were going to otherwise buy.
Hmm.
But I just have found bread to be very enjoyable. It's surprisingly forgiving, but it can also be complicated. You can make it as easy or as complicated as you want, and there are no bounds to what you can do with it.
Is there a go-to bread like of all the various types and flavors and whatnot? Is there one that is like you particularly are known for or love working with?
I don't know. I The stuff I make at home is pretty simple. We eat sandwiches mostly.
Mm,
um,
okay.
but in the kitchen at House of Bread, we've developed all kinds of variations and different flavors just to try and figure out what people are interested in purchasing at a bread stand.
Mm. Well, and then I mean, are there any particular life lessons that you have taken from working with bread? You've kind of
Oh,
you've kind of mentioned a little bit, but I mean, like a little perhaps a little more deeply what
uh-huh.
bread has taught you.
Right. Well, for sure, working with the women that we work with alongside the bread, I have learned that bread has no limits. You can make something as simple as a plain bread that has four ingredients in it, and you can make things that are wildly complicated. But I love that anyone can do any of those things. As I'm mostly teaching in the kitchen, that is what I always tell people when they say, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. You might need to practice it a few times,
Yeah.
but it's really limitless.
Lovely. Well, once again, joined here on Buzz for Good by Lisa Goad, who is the program coordinator for House of Bread, which is getting ready for its first annual Bake Off on September the 19th. And we're going to get to more about that later on in our conversation. But let's kind of talk about, what are the ingredients that go into House of Bread? Like what are you, who are you serving and how did that come into being?
So the women we serve, we say under resourced. In our first years of operation, that was women coming out of incarceration,
Hmm.
and that's still a significant piece of who we serve. We've just decided over the years that there's a lot of women who need what we're offering that haven't necessarily been incarcerated. So we call them our students, but the women who come to participate in the program may be coming from some kind of a justice situation. They also may be just coming out of generational poverty, domestic violence, substance use. There's all kinds of situations that put a woman in a position where she's having trouble getting into the job force or being able to support herself.
Is there a typical, I guess, or not typical, everybody's unique, I realize, but is there like maybe a common story or common ingredient to keep with the bread theme here that these women tend to have?
Sure. So one of the things we see is that you may have noticed that our society does not offer a lot of grace.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot of our women, when we interview a woman to participate in the program, we start the interview by saying, "Tell us about yourself." And we noticed pretty early on that when women are asked to tell us about themselves, they start by listing their mistakes.
Mm,
Like the first thing they'll say is, "Well, when I was this age, I did this and I ended up here." And so the world likes to define us by the worst thing that we've done. And so that's kind of a big piece of what we do that I would say is common to just about all of our students is that they come in feeling kind of the weight of shame or they don't like who they have been in the past and they're having trouble shedding that. So that's one of the things that we try to do in the kitchen is to really emphasize that you aren't the biggest mistake you've made.
mhm.
You have value because you're you. And so we try to find that who is you. What might you become from here if you don't have to carry the weight of your past with you.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. How many, what have you talked about how like women come into the program, but then walk us through the next 6 weeks. Like, how does that work of the program?
Sure. We work in pretty small groups because we really want to get to know the women well. So we typically have 6 to 8, maybe up to 10 women at a time in the kitchen. And so they show up. We have an interview process, onboarding, kind of getting to know them and figuring out what their needs are. And then they show up in the kitchen And we will spend the whole first week in the kitchen baking bread. Like we teach them how to wash their hands and do the very basic kitchen safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just start baking. And then from there, we bake
Well,
every
real
other
quick,
week.
but before we
Oh, sorry.
get past the
Yeah.
first week, like, I mean, how
Yeah.
many is this every day? Is this a number of
Oh,
hours a
yeah.
day?
Great question. It's 2 days a week.
Okay.
So they're all just with us for the whole morning, 2 days a week. And we start with the real basics. I assume that no one has ever been in a kitchen before. Obviously,
Hmm.
that's not true, but I don't want to make any assumptions. So we start with ingredients and how to measure, how to read a recipe. They're learning teamwork along the way, and we do the food safety basic kind of stuff that they need to know to operate in a commercial kitchen. So we really start from scratch, but we create a whole product. Even on the first day of class, we will make like a batch of cookie dough and a batch of granola on the very first day, and it's fun to watch how many people have never had that experience of starting
Hmm.
with a pile of ingredients and ending with a product that is, that people will come and buy.
Well, and it's also, I mean, I enjoy being in the kitchen, and the kitchen is one of the, I think, unique, rare spaces where, at least in a home setting, it's very democratic. I mean, there are no barriers. It's like we're kind of in this sharing the same space. Um, I know, like, if you watch the Bear or a cooking show, there is definitely a hierarchy there, but oftentimes it's just people in there kind of working together. That tactile. You don't have to have a real strong skill set or knowledge base to kind of at least contribute in some way, and it's you're working with ingredients, and you're able to kind of really break down some barriers where you can get to know someone.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about it. Everybody pitches in, but nobody has. I'm telling people kind of what they need to do, but beyond that, we've got students and we've got volunteers side by side in the kitchen, and everybody's kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
In fact,
And,
one of
and,
my
and and you might not know the difference between the two if you were just observing it from the outside.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say actually.
Yeah.
One of my proudest house of bread moments was when we had a visitor in our kitchen, and we took a break in the middle, and he said, "I've been in the kitchen with you all for an hour and a half and I don't know who's a student and who's a volunteer."
Yeah.
And I thought, marvelous. That's exactly what we want.
Right. And I imagine for the student who has a past that perhaps she is trying to overcome, that's probably got to feel pretty good. And maybe like
Yeah.
that's a lesson right there.
Yeah, that's the goal. And that also gives us a chance for people that maybe don't have that kind of a challenging background and just don't have that experience. They're now looking at these women and saying, "Oh, well, I thought you might be scary, but you're not. You're just
Mm,
just a person like me."
yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's really important too.
Okay, so I apologize. I interrupted you while you were going through the 6-week program that House of Bread offers for women, under-resourced women, to kind of help improve their lot in life. And so we got through week one. What happens from then on out?
Yeah, so after week one, we kind of hit a stride. On every other week, we're in the kitchen. So we start once they learn kind of the basics, then they are producing goods, and we will have a little bread stand at the end of each week, and they will learn to bake yeast breads and quick breads, cookies, granola. We have a whole variety of things that varies by season and all of that. So they really get to experience a lot of different types of baked goods. And then that supports the program when we have people come and purchase
Mm,
the stuff to take home.
okay.
Um, on the intervening weeks when we're not in the kitchen, we are in a classroom setting, and we teach the Serve Safe Food Handler course, which is sort of like the entry level food handler. So they learn how to handle the food safely, cooking temperatures, storing food, and heating and cooling food, and washing dishes, and all that kind of stuff. So that gives them a leg up into the food industry. If they're looking to get a restaurant job, they will have that qualification that not everyone has. And it also ensures that we're running our kitchen safely.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, beyond that, we do a lot of job skills. Our goal is to not just help people get a job, but to help them become a better employee so that when they do get a job, they can keep that job.
Hmm.
So we will do things like communication, workplace communication. We've heard so many stories where people get a job And then they get there, and in the first week, they don't know how to communicate with their boss. And so when their schedule gets changed, instead of talking about it or working it out, they just quit.
Mhm.
So we talk about that kind of thing. We talk about, depending on the makeup of the class, we might talk about trauma and identifying like what has happened in your past and how does it prevent you from successfully interacting with people in a professional setting today. We work with them on showing up on time and, communicating, answering text messages and emails, and just the
Mhm.
kind of basic things that a lot of us take for granted, that if you didn't grow up in an environment where you were practicing and learning those things organically, you just may not know how to do them.
Yeah. We're going. I promise we're going to get through the 6 weeks here in a second. But the questions or the that come to mind when you're talking about some of these women is, you know, um, is there a common element in or ingredient once again in their background that kind of has led them to this life that they're now trying to overcome?
I mean, of course, each person is unique, and they all have a different story. I mean, there's a lot of just like feelings of inadequacy or not being able to see what they could be.
Hmm.
That is one thing. If you've been struggling just to survive for a long time, you might get to a point where it's hard to imagine yourself flourishing. And so sometimes we spend some time, just trying to let people picture like what could things look like?
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
if things got where you want them to go, what would that even look like? We've done an exercise sometimes where we just say like, imagine yourself, look, close your eyes and imagine yourself in a year. What do you feel like? What does it
Hmm.
look like? Who's around you? Where are you? Just to get them kind of thinking outside of like, where is my food coming from tomorrow? Which
Yeah.
is obviously very important, but we want to
Hmm.
be able to get to a place where those immediate needs are met so that they can think bigger and hopefully get to a place where they are feeling more able to support themselves.
And so then by the end of the 6 weeks, they've completed your program. They have their Serve Safe certification.
Uh-huh.
And now what?
That depends a lot on the specific women.
Yeah.
Some of them have like are really looking to get into a job right now. And so, we would love to be able to connect them with an employer. And sometimes we're able to do that. 6 weeks is not a very long time. So a lot
Hmm.
of times they're still kind of in the job search process when they leave. A lot of our students will go on to get a job shortly after they graduate. Some people have kind of different, because we work with women, a lot of them have childcare barriers. Some of them have housing challenges. Some of the women we work with don't have permanent housing when they're in our program, and so it's very hard to get a job if you don't have consistent housing. So sometimes they have other kind of things that they have to, infrastructural things they have to work out before they're able to get into the workforce. But our goal is for them to identify those places that whatever's next for them at the beginning, and then we're working with them throughout the whole program to try and achieve the next step.
Gotcha. Once again, joined here on Bus for Good by Lisa Goad, who is the project coordinator for House of Bread, based in Roanoke, Virginia, and provides a 6 week program for women who were considered under-resourced, whether they've been incarcerated or somehow uh, struggling, and providing them with kind of hope and opportunity through learning how to make bread in hopes that they can then find employment in the service industry. And they're getting ready for their first annual bake off on September the 19th. And I promise we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, though, I would like to find out like, what's the origin story of House of Bread? I mean,
Hmm.
you've been involved kind of from the beginning, it sounds like, but like who came up with this idea and why?
Yeah, so one of the co-founders, Jen Brothers, um, about 10 years ago, or actually for her, I guess it was longer than 10 years ago, she heard an NPR story about a program similar to this,
Hmm.
that's going on in Northern Virginia. Their program is structured a little differently than ours, but the concept was the same. And they were specifically working with formerly incarcerated women and getting them into the workforce. And so she just got curious and started wondering if Roanoke had anything like that, or if there was even a need for that. So she went to a halfway house and just started talking to the women there and asking, what are the challenges you face, and realize that while most of the reentry programs, which do exist, there are quite a few reentry programs that are doing great work in Southwest Virginia. But most of them, while they don't specifically say they're programs for men, they're gearing people for jobs in the construction industry or warehouses, things that have long shifts that aren't conducive to childcare, or sometimes have like heavy lifting requirements that women may or may not be able to achieve. So there's just a lot of components of those situation that apply to women and not men. And so we really wanted to create a program that would specifically address the challenges that women face.
Interesting.
And so that was how it started. But in the process of talking to those women, she asked them, what could somebody like me do to even help? And one of the women that she talked to said, I need people like you not to be afraid of people like me. And so that really just has colored everything we've done. So everything is about these two-way relationships that we want the women to find the support they need. And also we as the community want to better ourselves so that we can be more welcoming to people that are trying to, make their way among us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you rely a lot on volunteers.
We do. Yeah. Over the last 10 years, we've probably had 300 volunteers or something like that. We have a large network of volunteers. We only have two. I am one of two part-time staff members.
Okay.
So we do not have a big staff. We have a board that works behind the scenes, to keep us going. And then we rely on a ton of volunteers. Probably each 6-week session uses 20 to 30 volunteers who come in and they bake with us. We pair each of the women with a mentor that they work with one-on-one for the 6 weeks. And then we have people providing all kinds of other just support along the way, help with transportation and events and things like that.
Now, are the volunteers also exclusively women?
The volunteers are mostly women. Because so many of the women in our program have backgrounds that have included harm by men. We try to provide kind of a safe space where it's only women in the class. We do have men who volunteered selling the bread at the bread stands with us, and doing that kind of supportive jobs that aren't part of the class.
Gotcha. And what about this work? I mean, yes, you were baking bread, you were kind of in that space, but like, what drew you to wanting to essentially devote your, a career to this?
Yeah, I mean, originally it was really all about the bread. They needed a skill that I had, and I said, sure, I'll come in and build up some recipes and teach people how to bake. And I still do that part. That is still a big part of my job. But now I'm working with the women all the time. And I came from a background of privilege, and I've never, like, nobody in my family has ever been incarcerated. I'm not experiencing living with addiction, in really close to me. So a lot of the experiences that our women have had are vastly different than anything I've experienced. And I have just been like really shocked by how difficult their lives can be. Just day-to-day things that are so trivial to me, even if it's just like, driving to the grocery store to pick up the groceries that we need today. If I had to get on the bus and it took like 2 hours to make a round trip to the grocery store, and then I had to carry all the bags with me, it's just like logistically, their lives have so many challenges that I just never knew about, that I feel like I've grown a passion for both helping these women who need the resources in their world, and also then educating people to help everybody around me see what I'm seeing, that we as a community could do a better job of making things a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Lisa Goad, program coordinator for House of Bread. The first annual Bake Off is September the 19th. Tell me all about it.
We're really excited. So we've never done this before. We're hoping for a fundraiser format that will be fun and people will enjoy it so much they will want to come back and do it next year. So we're going to have, we have several components to it, but we're right now recruiting community bakers to figure out what their best baked goods are, and bring them in, and we will have a competition that will be judged by some judges from local restaurants and bakeries. I will not be judging. So all of my friends can enter the contest. No worries. Um, but we will have you'll have a chance to bring in your baked goods and have them judged. There will be winners in different categories. We also have some celebrities coming. I'm not sure I should name them yet because a lot of them are still, we're not 100% sure who's going to be there.
Well,
um,
well, I think this would be a great way to confirm that they're going to be there. Just
that's
go ahead,
right.
and blast them out, and like
Right.
then they couldn't get out of it.
That's right. Yeah, maybe I should do that. But we will have some local celebrities, some people that people will definitely recognize and know. We'll probably start publishing those as the event gets a little closer. But the celebrities will be bringing their own baked goods.
Okay.
I will say we're not recruiting celebrities who are specifically bakers. So I'm really curious to see what they will come up with.
Yep.
But our celebrities will have baked goods that will be on display and will be part of a silent auction so people can bid for their favorite celebrity baked good. We will have some new House of Bread products for people to taste and vote on, help us figure out what we're going to bake this fall with our students.
Okay.
So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And where is this going to be?
We're holding it at Green Memorial United Methodist Church downtown.
Okay. So Green Memorial United Methodist Church, September the 19th. The times?
The event will be from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
And it costs $15 to get in, whether you're bringing a baked good or not.
Okay.
You won't have to pay extra to enter the contest. And tickets can be purchased on our website. Starting now, they're already on sale.
And your website is?
houseofbreadroanoke.com.
houseofbreadroanoke.com.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So please, yeah, folks, go to houseofbreadroanoke.com. Check out all the incredible work that House of Bread is doing for under-resourced women in the Roanoke Valley, and attend somehow, whether it's through a ticket or a sponsorship, the first annual bake-off that they're having on September the 19th. All right. Was there anything else that you that came on wanting to share?
We have so many moving parts. It's really hard to, it's the 2-minute elevator pitch is very complicated. So
Yeah,
I
right.
appreciate the longer format to be able to talk about it. The only other thing that's kind of a piece of our mission that we didn't talk about is we've developed, as you know, because like I said, I came from a different background and I've been so surprised about all the challenges these women are facing that we developed a poverty simulator, which we take out to organizations. We did that last fall as a sort of fundraiser where we just ran it ourselves, where we invite people from the community to come in and take on we give them like a biography of a woman who has experienced the same kinds of things that our students do. And we ask them to travel around to different stations and, try to get a job or try to find housing that they can afford with the job that they have, and that sort of thing. And that's a thing that we're trying to push out more into the community, to get different organizations to experience it, because it's a really good way to find out. I mean, it is unique to Roanoke. So it takes into account Roanoke's bus system and, all the different services that are available locally. So that's something that we offer to the community as a way to just help people understand something that they maybe haven't experienced firsthand.
Yeah. What's the most surprising piece of that simulator for someone who, you're trying to, bring to them?
Probably what we've designed it this way on purpose, of course. But people will go into this and say, okay, well, all I have to do is I have to visit this table and do this and this table and do this. And then they run out of time and things don't go smoothly. They find a job, but by the time they have all the paperwork together to accept the job, somebody else has gotten the job. And so almost every time people end up throwing their hands up and saying, how can it be this hard? It's so frustrating. But they're very real experiences. Everything in that is founded in reality. So it's been a really good tool, I think, to help people understand and think critically for those of us who are in a position to change the way the structures are in our community and to change policy, for us to think about, is there a way we could make this have a lower barrier or, be able to be more accessible to the people who need it.
Well, and I do think that's where, this little niche that you have come upon with through House of Bread with, getting people trained for the food service industry. It does seem as though that the level or the barrier for entry into that world, because there's so many jobs out there where they need good employees, that where that is perhaps one barrier that is easier to overcome just in the food service industry. Is that safe to say, or is that am I way off?
Yeah, it's definitely a lower barrier industry to get into. Food service is always in need of employees, and
Hmm.
so they are not as particular about who they hire in a lot of cases. That's not always true, but it's a lot of times it's easier to get a job in food service.
Hmm.
The flip side of that is that then one of the things we're concerned about is what will the job environment be like for
Right.
the women that we're placing there. If everyone in the kitchen is coming from a background of substance use, then that may not be a healthy environment for somebody whose main goal is to try and stay clean. So that's also part of what we do is we're trying to evaluate like who are the employers in our community
Mm.
that have a good workplace and that are open to communication. I sat in on an interview one time between a student and an employer that I had connected, and I went with her to the interview, and the employer told her all the information and said, "Do you have any questions?" And she said, "No." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to leave you to fill out the application." And he left. And as soon as he was out of the room, she said, "Well, I'm going to have surgery next month, but I'm not going to tell him because he's not going to hire me." And I was like, "Well, but you're not going to be able to keep that job if you have to take off a month. Like, you're better off to talk about that now in the interview."
Right.
But she was so scared to say it because she thought she would be dismissed.
Hmm.
That sometimes there's also this like communication piece that we work on with the women, but then also we need to find employers who are, going to engage in that conversation and understand how to communicate with women who, maybe professional communication is not their forte.
Sure. Right.
Um, so it's always a challenge.
Yeah. Uh, Not to put you on the spot, but are there some employers out there that deserve some special recognition for working with y'all that perhaps, you would want to mention here?
Yeah. So we have in the past had a couple of relationships with people. That's something that we're really working on right now. So I'm not sure there's anybody that we're working with now that I can really name. Um, that's one of our big projects for the coming year is to try and build a stronger um, network of employers so that we can kind of vet those employers and then also offer them employees that we have trained and vetted ourselves, and hoping that that will be a symbiotic relationship, that everyone will benefit from. But it's kind of a work in progress.
Gotcha. 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 Once again, joined here on Bus for Good by Lisa Goad, who's the program coordinator for House of Bread. How many women do you think you have served since the founding of House of Bread?
We have had about 130 women
Wow.
come through the program in 9.5 years of operation.
Fabulous. Is there a go-to success story that you like to share about, one or more of the women who've come through House of Bread?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many success stories. And of course I don't ever like to tell anybody's story since it's not my story, but yeah, we've had a lot of women come through who just who need somebody to care about them.
Mm.
As much as they need tangible help, they need to know that the community hasn't written them off because of something they did in the past or their station in life. And so we've seen lots of examples where people came in and have just been able to develop not only skills but also just self-confidence and
Mhm.
like the idea that I am worth it. Somebody is investing in me, which means I have value and I can do this thing, whether that is getting a job or going back to school or whatever it is. So we have lots of stories. We will be sharing some of them. We're hoping we're going to get a couple students to come share their own stories at the fundraiser. But we're always eager to to share success stories where we can.
Yeah, right. Well, we've now produced 85 plus episodes of our TV show Buzz. featuring
Okay.
various nonprofits. And, I always remind the people who actually work for the nonprofits that yes, you can tell a great story, but the best stories about the mission of the nonprofit are always told by the people whom you have served. And so,
Right.
yeah, so those are the folks that, like you can provide all the data to tell a potential, donor or sponsor, for their head, but it's the client, the student in your case, who's the one who's going to touch their heart. And so, yeah, I,
Right.
I hope y'all can find some of your students to share their stories because they sound like they're amazing.
We certainly have students who are evangelists for us,
Mm,
who are all going around town trying to get their everybody else to do the program and talking about it. So hopefully we'll find some cheerleaders to come and tell their stories.
yeah. Well, yeah, and as we're coming to a end of our conversation here with Lisa Goad, program coordinator for House of Bread, you talked about the students that you've served, but I've also noticed that when it comes to nonprofits who rely a lot on volunteers, the volunteers are the ones whose lives sometimes are changed even more by the work
Yeah.
that you're doing. Tell me about maybe a volunteer or two who has, you know, learned some things, or even you learned some things from this work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had a lot of volunteers over the years, and a lot of people have really expressed the same kind of surprise that I had with realizing all the challenges that are out there that they just didn't know about before. So I think we've had some volunteers that have, gotten really involved in the community and trying to change the way the community operates. And also people who've just become friends with
Hmm.
the student they mentored, for example. That maybe warms my heart more than anything when
Yeah.
I hear about a student who, is still in touch with her mentor 3 or 4 or 5 years later, or tells me like we're friends now and we go out and do things together. Because that's really that's what we want, is we want to have people crossing those bridges and interacting with people that they otherwise maybe wouldn't ever meet,
Hmm.
and finding all the things they have in common. Sometimes it's as simple as, like I remember a mentor one time said she discovered that she and her student were both from Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
And that just out of that grew their whole relationship because they just had this like geographic commonality. So sometimes we assume that somebody's life is going to be vastly different from ours because their experiences are different. But when we get to know them, of course, we find that we've really got a lot in common.
And oftentimes, my experience, what has maybe separates in your case the mentor from the student is there was just one moment in the student's past or the mentor's past where it could have gone the other direction. The mentor had this one thing in their past not happened, could have ended up as a student, and vice versa. Uh,
Of course, yeah.
so I mean, there is a randomness and which is tragic in it of its own way. Whether it was like an unpaid uh, medical bill that led to needing to maybe get some cash quick that didn't
Yeah.
or an addiction that somebody was able to overcome an addiction whereas someone else couldn't.
Right.
An
Yeah.
abusive relationship. I mean, on and on and on.
Absolutely. A lot of those things are not unique to any particular set of people. They
Yeah.
are just things that can happen to anyone. So for sure, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the great work you're doing. Once again, folks, make sure you have on your calendars September the 19th at Green Memorial United Methodist Church in downtown Roanoke, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., the House of Bread first annual Bake Off. Tickets are just $15. You go and you can sample all sorts of great breads and more importantly, get connected with the mission of House of Bread. Lisa Goad, program coordinator, thank you so much for coming on to Buzz for Good.
Thank you, Michael. It was great to talk with you.
Next up on Buzz for Good, on Wednesday, August the 26th at 7 p.m. on Blue Ridge PBS, our newest Buzz TV show will air, starring the nonprofit Calfee Community and Cultural Center. What is the center? Well, listen up. There is a mythological African bird called the Sankofa, whose body faces forward with its head turned back. The significance? In order to know where we are going, we have to know where we have been. Such a place is rising, like that other mythological bird, the phoenix, in the southwestern Virginia town of Pulaski, at a place called Calfee. How it kept moving forward is the story we are honored to share on today's episode of Buzz.
My name's Jill Williams, and I'm the Executive Director of the Calfee Community and Cultural Center. This was the Calfee Training School built in 1939 after the original Calfee Training School across the street burned down. It educated about 250 Black children here in Pulaski until the schools desegregated finally in 1966.
One of those students is now Calfee Board President, Mickey Hickman, who enjoyed a long career as teacher and administrator in a desegregated Pulaski County public school system.
I attended Calfee Training School, grades 1 through 7. I entered the first grade in 1955. 56 was my first year of school. Eventually, I ended up earning a doctorate degree from Virginia Tech. Didn't know about the politics of that time. We just came to school. My parents gave me some rules about coping with white people. If they're coming down the street, move over a little bit, let them pass, don't look them in the eye or things like that. And there were certain places that we couldn't go to growing up, certain streets, neighborhoods, and things like that. But I did not know what that was all about. I just was growing up, and my neighborhood was an all-black neighborhood. But I went out each day, had fun, played with my neighborhood pals and things like that. And so I didn't know about the world and the politics of the world then. We were considered disadvantaged by attending a segregated all-black school, but I could do the work. Schoolwork was a challenge, but I could do it. No, I didn't know I was disadvantaged. Didn't seem like it.
While Hickman had a celebrated life in Pulaski County post-desegregation, the Calfee School building did not. From 1966 until the early 2000s, it served a variety of purposes, including public kindergarten and corporate office space, before it was abandoned and left to rot with collapsing ceilings and raccoon dens.
So in 2018, my children's preschool was closing, and Pulaski is a child care desert. But one thing in Pulaski that we have plenty of are empty buildings. So my husband and I and some other people in the town felt like we could certainly find an empty building that would be able to accommodate some expanded quality child care. So in our search, somebody recommended that we look into the Calfee School. I had no idea the Calfee School existed. I'm embarrassed to say, never thought to ask or anything. But we came and looked at the building with some alumni of the school, some people who were affiliated with its history. And what we found not only was an amazing building with amazing bones, but also an amazing history. And once we walked through first, we realized not only could this building accommodate a child care center, but also a museum about this building's remarkable history and the community's remarkable history, but also other functions that we wanted to have the community participate in figuring out what those would be.
I went on a tour with Mickey Hickman to get a glimpse of Calfee's past and future.
This was my second grade classroom, but this room now is going to be our museum, the African American Heritage Center at Calfee.
Okay.
It's going to tell the history of this, and we have a fabulous history. Down this way was the fourth grade classroom. This is going to be a digital computer lab. You can see that it's kind of in the works here. We have the machines, the computers. One of the things we're working on now is to collaborate with Pulaski County Public Schools. We're going to offer a reading tutoring program. During the earlier hours, we're going to have other types of program for adults and things like that. Certification programming. We've talked with employers about what they need, and so there will be the possibility for adults to earn certification and different things and all, and go through the programming and things here. This hallway is the Harmon Learning Child Care Center.
Okay.
We have 3 classrooms underway. The plans are to have 6. When we're at full capacity, we can have up to 99. We can't go past 99.
Wow. Another space Mr. Hickman showed me is the Lena Huckstep Kitchen, named for Calfee's longtime cook, who is known for sending sacks of her famous cornbread home with financially struggling children. Construction is now underway to create a larger full-scale commercial kitchen so that aspiring caterers have a place to launch their businesses.
This room right in front of us was the auditorium/cafeteria. It served a dual purpose.
Okay.
And all. It's cluttered. We can go in here. It's going to be the last thing that we develop.
But this gives you a good sense of what the building was like before you got back in here to repurpose
Oh,
it.
yeah, this is exactly what it looked like. And so we had volunteers come in and carry stuff away. I cannot tell you how many truckloads of debris and things that we carried away. And also, we did a lot of demolition ourselves to save on the cost and also.
Well, what a testament to the work that y'all have done to get it from here to what you've just shown me.
Yeah, so.
Like that Sankofa bird, the building contains so much past, present, and future that it's challenging for the team to effectively communicate the full Calfee story.
I think we're being somewhat successful in helping people in the community understand the different programs that we offer, but we really need some way to help people understand the cohesive story of what we're doing here. And so we really need some piece that tells that whole story, a map or a graphic that explains the entirety of what we're doing here at the Calfee Community and Cultural Center.
When it comes to creating beautiful print pieces, I had to look no further than my good friends at WordSprint, a full-service marketing agency headquartered in nearby Blacksburg.
I'm blown away. What surprises me the most is I never knew about this place. And I have roots in the area. My family's from Drapers Valley. I never knew about the Calfee Center. So I was completely shocked and impressed. I mean, what Jill and the others have done here is amazing. So we're really looking forward to this. This is going to be a good project for us. So, yeah.
Doable?
Doable. Not easy, but doable.
Good.
Looking forward to it.
While Bill Gilmer and his team at WordSprint got to work putting Calfee on an actual map, like that Sankofa bird, I kept my head on a swivel to learn more about Calfee's rich history.
My name is Colette Hash. I am a member of the Calfee board, have been since day one. I've seen us go through many transitions, and we have many more transitions to go through. So we're very excited to be working with the project.
Hello, my name is Gary Hash. I'm senior pastor of Jubilee Christian Center in Fairlawn, Virginia. Calfee was a very strict school. I cannot improve upon the statement that was made by our president, Dr. Mickey Hickman. He made the statement one time, and it was perfect. I can't improve upon it. He said, we were not rescued from an inferior educational experience. Calfee, I often jokingly refer to as Calfee University.
The education may not have been inferior due to the talents and expectations of the teachers, but in an era of school segregation, it certainly wasn't equal, according to Marilyn Harmon, whose parents attended Calfee, then went on to college at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, and in the 1940s returned to Pulaski, her father Chauncey as principal, her mother Lucy as a teacher.
He came back to Pulaski, and things were just like they were when he left. The school was not adequate, not equal to the white schools, leaky roofs and other kinds of things. And then he found out the salaries were different. And my dad had gone to Richmond to a principal's conference. And at that conference, he met someone who knew Thurgood Marshall, and he was telling him the story about the schools. And he said, well, you write to Mr. Marshall. And my dad did the situation, and Thurgood Marshall wrote him back and said he would take him as a plaintiff, but keep it quiet. And he talked with my grandmother and grandfather, and my grandmother, he said, Mother, I might lose my job. She said, well, you're not making any money anyway. You might as well just go ahead and file a suit.
This lawsuit, which foreshadowed the landmark case that struck down Separate but Equal, Brown versus Board of Education, was the subject of Calfee's first major program.
So one of the projects that has come out of the Calfee Center under the umbrella of our African American Heritage Center is the 2354 project. So the 2354 project came up with that name because it was 23 families and 54 children who sued the Pulaski County School Board for equal educational opportunities. And within that project, we didn't only want to highlight the history of it, but we also wanted to highlight the intersectionality. So how these families and these descendants spawned over generations. What did they do for a living? What kind of hobbies did they participate in? Who were they? And so you'll see on the quilts, when you actually take a second and look at it, you'll see some family photos, you'll see birth certificates, you'll see marriage certificates, you'll see all kinds of information that was donated to us or that we found through our research efforts and archiving. So.
The research has had profound effects not just on the community, but the researchers themselves, such as Clay Adkins and Camille Simon, who are putting their Virginia Tech history degrees to use at Calfee.
So as a lifelong Virginia resident, but not someone who's from Southwest Virginia, this history was really never taught to me in school in Northern Virginia, and so I feel like a sense of duty to kind of bring out these stories that have been neglected for so long, and because they do inform the ability I have to be in the position I am as a graduate student here in Southwest Virginia. And so I think it's very crucial to make sure that this history is preserved, that these stories are showcased, so that people can kind of get the bigger picture of where we are. Like, I'm just one part of this timeline, but it spans back and even further to like education of African Americans during enslavement, for example. That's something I'm passionate about learning about while I'm in my grad program, and then kind of seeing how that takes place maybe all the way up into where I am now.
We should care about this history because it's who we are. I may not live in this community, but it's who we are as Americans individually and collectively. It can teach us lessons not only about the past, but it'll teach us lessons about the current and maybe how to move forward. I think is why we should care about the history that happened here at the Calfee Training School. And another reason I think people should care about the Calfee Training School and the history, the lived experiences that, you know, people encountered here is because this history is often not taught in high school or middle school, and it's a history that needs to be, more widely accessible, I think. Yeah.
But Calfee's History Museum isn't the only space honoring its legacy.
I'm Roxana Wilson. I'm the child care director here. Not only was this an African American cultural school, but now education is still flowing through these halls.
Here. Yeah, here you go. You take those for your class. You gotta wash them. You wash them, and then we can cut them.
We teach, and our teachers have that heart and that desire and that thing that I'm sure what I've learned about the teachers that were here has carried through. Our children gain cultural awareness. They gain learning different cultures that they would have never been exposed to without the conscious thought processes of the executive director and the vision of this place. We have education from birth to 5, and those kids are going to learn about the education that happened long before they ever walked through these halls.
Over in the Lena Hugstep kitchen, Kathy Young is already cooking for the Child Care Center, but looks forward to building her catering business once the commercial kitchen opens.
To be honest, it's like me being at home. It's like some people, when you have a job, it's like, well, I gotta go to work. but I don't feel that way. So I get up and get dressed and come on to work. It's like once I get in here, I'm in a different place. It's not a bad way at all. It's just like I was teasing Tim, if I had a TV, I'd be right at home, because that's how much I care about being here, and I want things to be right for the kids, because things are hard now and tough and just so much bad stuff going on. So I think it's a comforting place to me.
Meanwhile, Jesse Rodales-Perdamo is making plans to better feed Pulaski's low-income population through a pay-as-you-can cafe in the footsteps of the kitchen's namesake.
Well, Lena Huckstep was so integral to making sure that every student had a meal, had something to eat that was filling. And she's very famous for her cornbread, so the hope would also be to put cornbread on the menu for brunch, and just having her legacy of being able to cook beautiful food and make sure that that was available to every student and every staff member. It's the same idea. It's just continuing community and just touching everyone by their stomach, but still touching everyone.
With all of this talk of past and future, it of course makes sense that the Calfee Center now features a Sankofa Trail.
We're partnering with the New River Conservancy and the Friends of Peak Creek on this Sankofa Trail. It will eventually go all the way over to Tract Fork, which is a creek that makes up the western side of our property.
Okay.
And so we're working with them to try to give more people access to nature, and as well as to clean up the waterway. This creek runs eventually into the New River.
Okay.
So we're all connected.
Yeah. And so they planted the trees and they donated the trees and...
They planted the trees, donated them, and then we're working together to raise money to restore the stream bank.
Beautiful.
There.
Perhaps the lesson of the Sankofa is most poignantly expressed through Calfee's leadership. Its board is a blend of Black alumni who have been associated with the building since childhood, along with white Pulaskians still learning about the cause, all led by Jill Williams.
For the longest time, she was the acting executive director, and we got to the point where we decided we would hire full-time executive director. And a few applications came in. We looked at them and their qualifications and things, and maybe some good people, but the more I thought about it, and when I thought about what Jill, she was handling not only the transformation of the building, but the writing of the grants, also the programming that we would have once we were open. And she knew so many layers that I talked to one of the board members that I relied on for their advice, and what are we doing here? And we don't look at Jill as a white person, leading a Black organization. We look at her as the right person leading the organization, and she's talented, very, very intelligent, very talented, and I like having conversations with her. And whenever I think we have a crisis here with the project, something we didn't get some grant or something that we expected, and the news would come out, and I thought maybe I would have to commiserate her, or I needed commiserating. She's already on the plan B, the next plan, and things, and that's happened so many times that I'm just comforted that she has a tentative solution for the current problem.
And that'll do it for today's Buzz for Good. Please stay connected with me throughout the week through my website, buzzforgood.com, buzzbuzz4good.com, as well as social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, all at Buzz for Good. And until next time, I hope you continue being a Buzz for Good in the community you hold dear, and supporting those nonprofit organizations that are working tirelessly each and every day to make your community an even better place to live. Bye now.